The goal of a lot of couples, even before they separate, is a marriage restoration. But can that happen during a separation and even after a divorce? Hi, my name is John McKenzie, and in today's video, we'll be discussing marriage restoration and whether it's possible during your separation or even afterwards when you're divorced. Now, we want to welcome you to Kingdom Principles, your source of info on surviving marriage separation. And if you stick around to the end of the video, you'll hear a mic drop piece of advice that I wish I'd learned years ago. And I'll even say it twice so you don't miss it. So as someone that's actively working towards that type of marriage reconciliation of my own, I tell you it's possible. After the wife and I separated, there was very little chance of my marriage not ending in divorce. But through much prayer, repentance, self-reflection of the type of man I was in our marriage, I'm now actively working to change my habits, activities, and becoming the man, husband, and father I should have been. So I can tell you, there's hope. Whether you're a man or a woman, there's hope. Now, that doesn't come by fixing your spouse. It starts with you first. Because in the long run, the only one you can ever change is you. And after looking back at the person I'd become, I did not blame my wife for taking the kids and leaving me. The trouble is, it took them leaving before I was willing to face the truth about the type of person I'd become over the years. When she left, it left me shattered and alone. And with the kids being gone too, it only made the hurt worse. The only one I could call on to not judge me and help me through it was God. Coming to the point of my lowest low, I cried out to God to forgive me for what I'd done and how it hurt my family over the years. Repenting for what I'd done and asking God to restore my family and my marriage. To do a complete marriage restoration. Well, I want to say it was quick, getting to the point where my wife said divorce is not an option, we're going to work it out. But it wasn't. God had a lot of work to do in me. But even after the forgiveness that they showed me, it took time to rebuild that trust, especially with my kids. It said scars run deep, but emotional scars run deeper. Now, it takes time to rebuild trust. Sometimes it's a slow process, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But you're changing patterns learned over the years, and even hereditary patterns. And even then, it still takes time to break those patterns and rebuild new ones. So don't be discouraged if your marriage restoration is taking a while. You're not alone. The good thing is that it only takes one person working on changing themselves for the better to save a marriage. Now, as the other spouse sees positive changes, and that those changes aren't temporary but lasting and improving, it creates an opening for dialogue. That dialogue can lead to the other spouse being even willing to work on themselves, and maybe even to the eventual restoration of the marriage. But it begins with one person wanting to save their marriage. Now, it can take time, because when you've hurt someone, but they see you're trying to make changes for the better, they'll want to make sure that those changes are real and long-lasting before trusting again. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're getting value from this. And click on the link to get our free report on the 7 things not to do when going through a marriage separation, down in the description below. So am I glad that my wife and I separated? Actually, yes. Because now my relationship with my kids is better than it's been in years. And the trust and love being rebuilt day by day in mine and my spouse's relationship gives me hope for complete marriage restoration and a stronger relationship. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this to get across the point that before you completely throw in the towel in your marriage, take time to self-reflect on your part in the cause of your separation and what you can do to fix yourself. There's still hope for a marriage, even if only one of you is still willing to work on it. As long as one of you is willing to start, there's a chance. But remember, the only thing you can change is yourself. And maybe like me, that might be the catalyst for the healing that your marriage needs. But you have to want it and be willing to do whatever it takes and be in it for the long haul. And also, don't expect to completely understand right away how big a piece you played in the cause of the separation. Like me, for example, it took a while after I'd been working on myself and of my family seeing positive changes that calm conversations were able to take place, where I could get honest feedback of what things I'd done over the years. Even things that I'd forgotten that I'd done or forgotten that had happened. And a lot of the things that had accumulated over the years to get us to the point of separating. Now notice that I'm not mentioning anything that she did or that was her fault, because the important part is me and what I need to work on. She understands from the conversation what part she played and what she needs to work on, but that's on her. That may be the same for you and your spouse. You can't force them to change. You can only lead by example and accept that you are a big part of the problem. John, why do you say I was a big part of the problem? Because marriage is not a 50-50 proposition. It's giving 100% each. Now ask yourself, were you giving it 100%? If you weren't, that's a big part of the problem. You need to give 100% no matter what your spouse is giving. Because over time it'll balance out when they're giving 100% and you're not able. Even if it averages out to only 80% over time, you're still way ahead of the curve on most marriages. And if you're giving 100%, there's less chance of it failing. Now I know it's easier said than done, but it's doable. And this will work even after your divorce to make your relationship a more cordial affair. And hey, it might even rekindle the old flame and lead to reconciliation after separation, otherwise known as divorce reconciliation. And I haven't even touched on the listening end of things yet. Do you want to know the secret in regards to listening effectively? Well, it's actually very simple, but hard to do unless you actively work on it. You listen to understand, not respond. Yes, you heard that right. You listen to understand, not respond. Boom. So what happens if you do all these things and nothing works? Well, even if it doesn't lead to your marriage restoration, you'll still have improved yourself for your next relationship. Our subscribe button is up here in the corner. And please check out our videos.